Visual hacking. This lesson will guide you through the prevention of an unauthorized person attempting what is known as sneak peeking into confidential information on your devices. For an unknown human reason, it is common to find another person sneak peeking into another person's devices. Cybercriminals take advantage of this common scenario and hack employees who are unaware of their surroundings. Cybercriminals disguise themselves as just another curious person checking out what others are doing on their computer. This incident is called visual hacking. For example, think about an employee who chooses to work remotely in a coffee shop. The cybercriminal will choose to sit at the next table and study what the employee is typing. Cybercriminals may take note of sensitive data such as usernames and passwords. This scenario is the reason why you should lessen your gadget screen visibility. Another example is when an unauthorized person or hacker makes their way inside an office and searches for an unlocked desktop so they can install malicious software. This malicious software may give the hacker the ability to access the employee's machine remotely. You want to avoid these incidents. Unfortunately, most do not know how to. Employees can avoid visual hacking by following the suggestions below. You should always be vigilant in your surroundings, especially when engaged in logging into an account or typing confidential information. Make it a habit to first check to see if someone is sneak peeking or not. Always make sure laptop or desktop screens are facing away from the public view. The employee may choose to sit in the corner of the room and sit with their back against the wall when working outside the office. Never leave gadgets unattended. However, if you do, make sure to lock the screens of your devices, such as corporate phones, tablets, laptops, or desktops, which may contain sensitive information about your company. These suggestions may help you and your company fight cybercriminals trying to engage in visual hacking. More so, if practiced every day, these practices will help you achieve a cyber threat-free environment in your workplace. In the next lesson, Sia will help you understand why access cards or badges should not always work in restricted areas. Access Control System. In this lesson, Sia will help you understand the use and importance of an access control system. You may encounter the inability to use your access cards or badges in some rooms in the office. This is due to the access control system. In cybersecurity, an access control system is like a gatekeeper. An access control system monitors, allows, and restricts the entry and exit of every employee over a certain period of time. Not every employee has the same access to specific areas. The principle of least privilege, POLP, or the principle of least authority is a concept in cybersecurity where an employee's access is granted based on his or her credentials. For example, a technical support representative can only access the main lobby, a technical support department, and a recreational room in the office. A director of an IT department can access every room in the office, including restricted ones such as a data center or server room. A visitor's pass can only access the main lobby. There are also times when an employee can access a restricted area for a certain period. For example, the team leader of a technical support team booked a meeting room on January 2nd, 2021 from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The technical support team can then access the meeting room only on the date and time provided. After that, they will be restricted from using the meeting room again. The main goal of the access control system is to prevent an unauthorized person from entering and exiting the office premises. Unfortunately, cybercriminals still find ways to enter the premises and even access the restricted areas. For example, a cybercriminal poses as an employee who forgot or lost their ID and access card. A lot of employees still fall for this trick and allow an unauthorized person to enter the office. This is called piggybacking. Piggybacking is an act in which the unauthorized person was accompanied by an employee when entering the premises. To avoid piggybacking, you should report any suspicious or unfamiliar faces inside the office premises. Another example is when the cybercriminal waits for an unsuspecting employee to enter the premises. The cybercriminal will enter the premises right at the back of the employee without the employee's knowledge. This is called tailgating. To avoid tailgating, you should be aware of your surroundings. It is best to check if someone is following you, or at least check if someone enters the room right after you without using their access cards. You should be mindful of piggybacking and tailgating, as these are the loopholes in any access control system. These attacks are tagged as bugs in the human hardware, because these can be avoided, but they are not because of a human's inclination to trust a person quickly. In the next lesson, Sia will help give you tips on how you can keep your workstation clean to avoid hacking. Keeping a workstation clean. This lesson will give you tips on how you can keep your workstation clean to enjoy a cyber-threat-free environment. Maintaining a clean and organized desk with no trace of personally identifiable information, PII, will send these cybercriminals away from your workplace. Organizing and keeping your workstation clean can also lead to a productive working environment. You should use the following suggestions on how and why you should keep your workstation clean. Avoid throwing printouts containing personally identifiable information directly into the trash can. As discussed in Lesson 2, social engineers look for employees' data and their company's information through dumpster diving. Shred these papers before disposal. Avoid writing usernames and passwords on sticky notes. These credentials are the primary target of cybercriminals. As discussed in Section 5, you may use a password manager or a 2FA, two-factor authentication, when you have a lot of accounts to remember. Do not leave confidential files unattended. Cybercriminals can easily steal these and later use them against you. As discussed in our previous lesson, the information in these files can be easily stolen by cybercriminals through visual hacking. These files should always be kept inside a locked desk drawer. Make it a habit to lock your device screens. As discussed in our previous lesson, never leave your phone, laptop, and desktop screen unlocked. An unlocked device is an invitation for cybercriminals to install malicious software that will allow them to access it remotely. Keep your files organized. As much as possible, minimize the files in your workstation. Any documents, confidential or not, if not needed, should be kept inside a desk drawer. Always keep your flash drives or removable drives secured. As discussed in Section 4, flash drives and removable drives can be a source of malicious software. Cybercriminals may install an unwanted app on your flash drive that will automatically run and cause damage once plugged into your corporate devices. These suggestions, if always practiced, can help you enjoy a cyber-threat-free environment while working inside and outside the office. In the next lesson, Sia will discuss how you can secure sensitive information using encryption. Encrypting sensitive data. This lesson will instruct you on how to encrypt sensitive data and why encryption matters. Encrypting sensitive data is like keeping your confidential documents locked in your desk drawers. Cybercriminals need a key to access it. Data encryption is fundamental to protect sensitive information against hackers. Data encryption is transforming sensitive information, or plain text, into a key code, or ciphertext. Even though hackers steal this ciphertext, without the key, they cannot convert the data into a readable form or into plain text. There are two types of encryption. These are symmetric encryption and asymmetric encryption. Symmetric encryption uses the same key to encrypt and decrypt the information, while asymmetric encryption uses two different keys to encrypt and decrypt the information. An effective asymmetric key system uses PKE, or public key encryption. PKE uses two different keys, a public key that is used to encrypt the data, and a private key or secret key that will be used to decrypt the data. Private key or secret key is known to the recipient only. For example, Employee 1 wants to send data to Employee 2. Employee 1 wants to send the document Cyberthreat-free environment. The message will be encrypted to an unreadable form, or ciphertext. Only Employee 2 can convert the ciphertext to plain text by using a decryption key. Once used, Employee 2 will then receive the document Cyberthreat-free environment. Another example occurs when backing up company files. Data is backed up and then encrypted to deter hackers from accessing sensitive employee and company information. Big companies usually subscribe to an application that regularly backs up and encrypts their employees' files, so you only need to automatically sync your machine. On the contrary, in small, medium-sized, and startup companies, it's your responsibility to make sure you manually encrypt your files. Indeed, it is not advisable to save your files in a plain text, especially if it includes confidential information. For example, an employee is working on the launching of a new product for the company. Anything related to that project should not be compromised, which means that it must be encrypted, or else the company will suffer a big financial loss. In the next lesson, Sia will help employees understand the importance of locking the server room. Locking the server room. This lesson will help you understand why there is a need to emphasize locking the server room. The server room is the heart of every organization's physical network. The server room is where different types of servers such as file servers, mail servers, backup servers, web servers, and database servers are being monitored, controlled, and secured. A server is a powerful machine that provides resources, data, services, or programs to other computers over a network. Servers are expensive, but they are the reason you can work seamlessly. This is the reason why servers need to be protected from both unintentional and intentional damage. Servers are placed in a centralized server room to offer more security against any casual and determined attacks from any unauthorized person. Server rooms should also be located at the core of the building, not at the basement and ground floor, to avoid flooding, and not on the top floor to avoid leaking. The server room should not be placed near the water, gas, and sewage lines to prevent severe damages to the servers. A minimum of 1 hour fire rating should be imposed in the walls of the server room. The goal of locking the server room is to protect the servers against anything that will risk a company's data. As discussed in our previous lesson, access to server rooms should be restricted. Only a limited number of employees should have access to the server room to avoid cybersecurity attacks. Any unauthorized individual or undesirable action that happens inside the server room should be reported immediately. For example, a cybercriminal managed to enter the server room. With just a flash drive and a few commands, the cybercriminal can quickly steal all of the data stored in the servers. Another example is when a curious employee visits the server room and accidentally unplugs a cable attached to the servers. This accident will affect the company and cause a network problem. These incidents can be avoided by securing or locking the server room. This explains why there is a need to enhance the security system of server rooms. Some companies install closed-circuit television, or CCTV, to monitor the employees going in and out of the server room. Motion sensors and alarms are installed in the server and server racks. There are also electronic locks on the doors of the server rooms. Aside from using an access card, you should know the key or passcode before accessing the server room. Implementing this enhanced security for server rooms helps to achieve a cyber-threat-free environment. In the next section, Sia will guide you on how you can store and secure your information in the cloud.
Discovering security breaches. Following the example set by the newest version of ISO 27001-2013, many businesses and organizations have started approaching cybersecurity from a proactive rather than reactive position. Rather than dealing with the fallout, managers are evaluating what could happen and taking precautions against these events. This doesn't mean that emergencies don't happen or that contingency plans aren't in place in the event of a breach, only that standard security protocols are now designed to minimize the risk. Unfortunately, not all organizations are heeding the warnings. The newspapers are full of daily examples of successful hacking attempts, often perpetrated against organizations that may have considered lower security standards to be an expense reduction factor. Some employees or staff may not believe that the risk is that serious, or they may be experiencing work-related stress, either of which can lead to less focus on their part and a greater possibility of attention lapses. Either of these employee responses could create the possibility of reduced cybersecurity levels. ISO 20071-2013 addresses this matter by recommending management protocols to test and verify employee adherence to security protocols. Many of these protocols begin on an employee's first day of work. ISO refers to this as the ISAP, or Information Security Awareness Program, but most HR departments would simply describe it as a part of employee orientation. The security details of employee orientation would include on-site access by signing in, passing a security checkpoint, using electronic cards to unlock doors, and so on. Possession and use of memory sticks, which some firms might disallow, setting up corporate user accounts and passwords, and so forth. Some institutions might assist employees by allowing off-site work through personal home computers or company laptops that can be used outside of work. Most of these protocols are established, operated, and monitored by an organization's IT department or IT person in a smaller company, but security procedures are established which requires an employee's direct participation and responsibility. Passwords should be changed on a regular basis and should not be stored anywhere, either physically or virtually, where they can be accessed by anyone who isn't authorized. This is especially important in relation to signed-out laptops used at home, where children might inadvertently cause a breach of security. Company computers should not be left unlocked when the user isn't present. If there are personal conflicts in the workplace, one or more of the participants could be tempted to lash out at their perceived foe. An open and unattended computer workstation can be a tempting target in these types of disagreements. Employees' desks should also be secured when not in use. Important documents and sensitive information should be stored away in a locked desk drawer. These requirements are usually conveyed to new employees during their orientation to the new job, and following them is often one of the conditions of continued employment. In addition to monitoring the technologies that protect companies from unwanted intruders, IT departments are also sometimes responsible for monitoring and testing staff members' commitment to cybersecurity. This is especially critical in the early stages of employment, when everything is new and the hired person is still learning and processing much job-related information. IT employees may simulate phishing attempts from within the company or try to manipulate an eager trainee into leaving their workstation. All of these attempts are designed to confirm that the new employees are following the established cybersecurity protocols. IT detectives may leave a thumb drive or classified document in an open space to see who spots it and how they react. Improper responses can lead to additional orientation training sessions. Continued improper responses could also lead to employment termination. In our next lecture, we'll look at establishing central information locations in order to guarantee that required information is available to those who are authorized to have that knowledge. Central locations for important contact information. In our last lecture, we looked at the protocols for maintaining cybersecurity, both as technologies for maintaining security and also for appropriate practices by staff and employees. We also looked at the various strategies for monitoring these protocols and verifying their use. These protocols are used to guarantee the integrity of a business data and information. In this lecture, we're going to look more closely at strategies for maintaining the availability of information to authorized users, another essential factor in cybersecurity. In order for staff and employees to access the information they need to perform their duties, it must be made available to those authorized to use it. At the same time, it must be restricted from access by those who aren't authorized. It's still conceivable that a company could post notices in a central area, such as a staff lounge or lunchroom. However, notices like these would need to be generalized information intended for access by all employees without exception. Aside from keeping it out of the hands of non-employees, information of this nature would not constitute a higher security vulnerability. Disseminating information in this manner, though, would consume more time and energy than posting that same information to an electronic bulletin board or a system folder. Using a virtual common area would speed up the release of the information, user access to the information, and the maintenance of the information, altering it as needed. It would also facilitate the quick isolation of more sensitive information from unauthorized users. For this reason, a virtual computer-based storage facility is the most effective way to facilitate, monitor, and improve data availability. This is another of the protocols covered by ISO 20071-2013, making it easier for organizations to implement and maintain information availability. However, what would happen if for some reason that information was suddenly unavailable or corrupted? Depending on the severity of the disruption, a business or organization could be afflicted for minutes, hours, or even days. This period of downtime would prevent an organization from continuing to conduct its business, whether for profit or non-profit. It would prevent staff from accomplishing their work, customers or partner agencies from receiving whatever materials or other items were due to them, and so on. The repercussions would not just be internal, but could affect other persons or organizations associated with the afflicted business. For this reason, ISO systems also include protocols for contingencies such as this. ISO protocols advocate a system to follow that would allow an organization to continue to conduct its business despite any complications that might follow a security breach. Some of the most basic protocols are practiced at an individual level. Routinely backing up work in computer terminal data drives is one method of maintaining information availability. This can also be performed at a system or management level, and often is conducted by IT departments on a regular basis. However, in the event of a disruption, utilizing backup data sources to make data available again would be time-consuming, time during which production would be halted. Any information that had been accrued following the last data backup and before the disruption would likely be lost and therefore unavailable, potentially affecting a business dealings with client or partner. Some ISO systems therefore recommend establishing mirror systems that replicate the data flow and stored data of a company's primary system. These systems work in real time so that lost data would include data being accumulated within seconds, not hours or days, of a system breach or collapse. In the event that a primary system fails, a company could switch instantly and effortlessly to the mirror system, which would be almost completely up-to-date and accessible. ISO systems also recommend as a protocol that mirror systems should be connected to but operate separately from primary systems. They should even be physically located in different locations in the event that a system failure is due to natural causes such as an earthquake or fire. As we've seen, The availability of critical information is another aspect of cybersecurity that needs consideration. Computer systems can be designed to allocate information to specific folders, accessible only by those authorized to use it. At the same time, securing the passwords or other means of accessing that information is the responsibility of individual users within a business. The strongest level of cybersecurity can be achieved when it is considered by both management and their staff.